Today the strength is very bad, right? Okay, we'll start with the module 4, which is aggregate planning, right? So as you all have no doubts with the module 2 and 3, we'll directly move on with the module 4. Okay, now can you see this PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
You can see the PPT. So basically, it's the fourth module. It's on aggregate planning. Now, before I go to the next slide, what do you understand by aggregate planning? Any ideas on that?
Something like overall planning, ma'am.
Overall planning. Um, Somebody else will wait for some more inputs. Overall planning is, I don't know who's responding, but someone of you all have said overall planning. What, anybody else? What is aggregate planning?
Like planning for a longer duration of time, ma'am.
Planning for longer duration time. Okay. What made you tell Tarun that it is a planning for long duration time?
Like, ma'am, on the whole, if you're planning for some production unit, so if the demand goes high after some period of time, so on the whole, we have to plan accordingly that in some 3-4 months you'll have to have some
See, when we
production.
talk about 3-4 months planning, then it doesn't come under the long range planning. Okay. So first let's discuss about this. This aggregate planning is done by whom? Who does the aggregate planning? See, it's very interesting, nice topic. I want everybody tomorrow in your field, when you move down to any industries, you will be utilizing all these strategies and planning techniques over there. So I want everybody to interact and give me your valuable answers. Is it clear? Now, whom do you think will be doing the aggregate plan?
From all the managers.
All the managers. The managers, when they are into the field of planning, what do you think they will plan for?
They'll plan about how to go around a particular problem.
They'll plan for solving the problem. But what kind of problem they will be facing through? If we make that clear, then everybody will start. I think everybody then we'll start getting the feedbacks in a better way. Tarun, can you tell me what kind of the problems the managers will be facing in an
Demand
organization?
and supply, ma'am.
Huh?
Can say
Demand
demand
and
and supply.
supply. Yes, demand and supply. Very good. Now, the managers are focusing on demand and supply. So, what are the kind of strategies or plans they need to apply to make their production line? Sautik, want to say something?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Uh, so, what kind of strategies they'll be applying to make the full-fledged use of their organization?
They'll incorporate all the rules of forecasting methods and all.
Yeah, they will incorporate all the techniques, like right from LPP, decision analysis, all techniques that we have studied in forecasting, and even in the previous module, that is the capacity planning. All that, whatever we have studied, the managers will utilize all those techniques and try to study first what is their capacity, and based on their capacity, they want to take some decisions, right? And these decisions can also be because of the variation in demand. This demand will come in picture because of season, because of season variations are there, Then there is closing orders. So, if you take some car companies and all, during in the year end season, right? That is during the March and the April month. I don't know which exactly in the month of in the December end also. Some cars have December end as the closing period. Some car has April end as the closing period. During that time, they will make the car sale completely go down, and they'll give a promotion order for your cars that you want to buy, right? They will try to reduce the price of the cars and put it on the uh, try to attract more number of customers, right? So these all planning will be done on their done by the managers. Similarly, if you have one product which is doing very well and all customers are moving towards that product, then immediately their competitors, what they will do, they will make a promotion, or they will make a announcement. They will try to attract customers by putting some kind of tagline that 50% off or 20% off, buy three get one to get one off. Don't you see all these things coming around? Why do you think they're putting all these pamphlets and tags all around? To attract more number of customers and make sure that whatever they have the things in their inventory, they want to put it for sale and clear their sale. You clear? So basically, aggregate planning is a process in which you're trying to focus on your capacity, and based on the capacity, you're going to um, you're going to estimate the demand. Is it clear? Can we move on to the next slide? Now, this
Yes, ma'am.
aggregate planning, I hope you have understood what is aggregate planning. Aggregate planning is basically a process in which you're going to study about the capacity, and based on their capacity, and once when you know your capacity, you're slightly working towards your demand of trying to bring the demand, and if there is a demand, you want to sell all your products off. That is the process of aggregate planning. Now, in aggregate planning, this is basically you have short range plans, you have intermediate plans, and you have long range plans. These long range plans basically speaks about the profitability, speaks about the what investment, what kind of stocks you want. It all focuses on long range. Those things comes under the long range, right? Whereas this aggregate planning that which focuses on in the production cycle, like we spoke about the work in process inventory or something like that, right? Working capital management in that and all. What for producing 100 components, what is the raw material they require, what is the machine required, what is the main supply required, whatever that capacity they formulate during that small period during their production cycle will be coming under the intermediate range. Now, aggregate planning will be basically focusing on this intermediate range. Short plans are very, very, what do you say? It has just at that period of time, maybe in a week or span, whichever we plan, it comes under the short range. Is it clear? So now we have intermediate range and long range plans. So now intermediate range, we basically speak about the aggregate planning. Is there any confusion in this slide? Shall I move on with this slide? Have you understood this slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, on a general, see why I'm posting all this slide is for you to note down these points, or when tomorrow when I put down on your classroom, you should understand to put down these points in your test, right? So basically, aggregate planning is a big picture of planning. We'll call it as aggregate planning. It's basically working from the period that we may utilize this aggregate planning is from 6 to 18 months, while strategy planning deals with long range of operations of facilities and resources, right? Aggregate planning deals with the developing way to utilize those facilities and resources. How effectively we can make best use of our capacities is what the aggregate planning talks about. Is it clear? Any doubts here? Big picture of entire planning is actually called as aggregate planning, and it is basically focused from 6 to 18 months. Strategic planning, long range plans, which we think of investing on land, building, and all that. But aggregate planning, you plan your effective utilization of men, material, machines, resources to produce your product. In that utilization comes under the aggregate planning process. Any doubts here? Was any doubts here? No.
No, ma'am.
Now, how do I begin my aggregate planning? First, you need to focus the demand. When you're doing an aggregate demand, first you should know when can you have your demand. See now, when you talk about sweaters, when will there be a demand for the set sweaters, blankets, and all that?
Winter season.
Which will be in the winter season. So during that time, you can try to get more quality. During that time, when you have gone to shop the sweaters, do they give any promotions or do they give any discounts for sweaters? In the month of December or in the month of July, June, when you go to the market, when you try to buy sweaters, do you think you get some good? Is there everywhere? Can you see promotion orders for 50% off on sweaters? Can you see such kind of tagline?
The off season generally the sales are higher. Like
That is because there is no demand. So
yeah,
whatever they have, they try to keep up the price, right? But when there is a demand, they will never. That time, that based on the demand in the aggregate planning, what they do is they try to increase their process, that is in the production cycle they try to bring about more number of they know their demand is more, they increase their production cycle. So that time in the shops and all, a margin 5%, that is only based on the statistics, that is but promotion order, one buy one get one two, all that and all will not be here. Is it clear? So the time they feel that more number of in fact actually they try to bring all their old sweaters, they try to work on it and they try to make it look much better and try to create and try to bring when the customers are approaching, they showcase all their products and make sure that all their products what they have they will put into sale, right? So basically, is it clear?
yes, ma'am.
So basically, in the process of aggregate planning, first you need to study the demand, right? So how will you demand? By forecasting your demand. In the forecasting means in the December, the month of December or in the month of July. I'm taking an example of these sweaters and blankets, but there are so many other. Even they could be your cool drinks, it can be even your cars, it can be so many umbrellas, so many things are there in the process of studying the aggregate demand, right? Then you forecast for intermediate range. Now, when you study this demand, so this one will be there only for a short period of time. Your winter season will be there only for a short period of time. So you need to focus for only, you need to plan your production cycle only for during that particular time and finish the supply by the end of the time. And if you have one piece more also, it's going to add an inventory cost to the organization. So you have to focus your aggregate demand for that particular period only, right? Then you need to you need to draw a general plan to meet the demand by setting what? First, you need to know what are the output levels. Here, what are the output levels? When you meet your demand, what will be your output levels? If I'm talking about the sweaters only, who are the people who come under the output levels, or what is the country that's going to come under the output levels? The customers. Your customers are the output. It is the thing who, how many people you can bring into your shop, how many people are looking, some people go with the tag, some people go with the brand, some people go with the comfort of the cloth, right? So how much people you're going to attract is also one of the most important aspects when you're trying to forecast your aggregate demand. Next one is employment. Employment is a factor or is a priority which comes under the input level. Employment, sometimes some organizations will work only during the peak seasons. The time they will be needing 22 employees, and during the normal supply, if they have 8 people, it's more than sufficient. That 22 people, right? So what will be the difference? 22 minus 8 will be 14. Those 14 people can either be taken on part-time basis, or you can try to make these people only work on overtime basis. How you're going to utilize this input criteria depends upon targeting your aggregate plan. Now, the output levels are the customers, employment, those people who are involved will be acting as an input level, and the finished goods at inventory. So old cycle products will be there, closing stock products will be there. Those products should be made sure that whatever your target, your raw material that you've targeted or the product that you've targeted for the production, that your 0% inventory should be there. All that you process should be put for sale. That is the target of your aggregate demand, or forecast your aggregate demand. Now, the next point is production plan should be made such that it should be the output of aggregate planning. Whatever you're targeting so many customers, so your production plan should be done according to that. Especially in the restaurants, during weekends they would actually plan their lunch in such a way that it will be sufficient. It will be in a larger capacity, but during weekdays it will be in a smaller capacity, right? So that output, how many customers are going to come, based on that only they have to make their production plan. And this plan should be every should be updated periodically, right? We cannot keep it like a long range plan. Now, like as I said, on the weekend you have different plan, on the weekdays you have different plan, so it should be updated accordingly. Sometimes even if it is a weekday, if it is a holiday, or if it is some festival day, that time also you can attract more customers, right? So that time you need to plan your production according to that period, right? So it depends on updating your plan periodically. Am I clear with this slide? Any doubts here? Any contradictory here? Is there you want to add something here? Was any doubt? Shall I move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible? No, basic. Yes, Vipin?
No, ma'am, you can move
No
on.
doubt. Okay. Now,
Move
basically,
on.
after having seen these slides, we realize that the action of aggregate plan is to bring an idea to the management to what quantity of materials or resources should be procured, what quantity of resources are utilized in the production process, and how much product should be available during the target period so that it reaches your customers. So these are the important aspects of the aggregate planning. Okay. Now, overview of planning levels. Short range plans will be machine loading, job assignments, because as I said when I spoke about long time only, when at one particular cycle you'll be producing the jigs and fixtures would be attached in such a way that they are going for producing for only Hyundai companies. Then suddenly the next cycle will be for Maruti companies. That time this machine loading and unloading jigs and fixtures need to be changed. So these things talk about your short range plans, right? Then intermediate plans is basically for uh, for a for a something which works in the intermediate level, such as our employment, such as our customers, your outputs. All these speaks about the intermediate plans. Without these, we cannot fix up your short range plans or the long range plans. These intermediate plans are very important. Until unless you're clear with these plans, you cannot focus on short range plans or your long term plans. Now, long range plans actually speaks about long-term canvases, having a MOU with your vendors, trying to have some kind of adjustments in procuring your raw materials, the land you buy, or the different policies you use for procuring the land, the layout you make. All that will be coming under the long range plan, right? So this will be the basic overview in understanding your aggregate planning levels. So short range plans, basically the small alternates that we do in the shop floor only in alignment or misalignment of your machine holding job assignment. Then your intermediate plans that we speak with our customers and our inputs and customers, your employment output and all. Then we have long range plans, which is a huge investment for the organization. They focus on long term capacity, location, and layout. Okay. Now, why is this what is the importance of aggregate planning? Now, aggregate planning, there are so many list of people who are involved in the aggregate planning. The engineers are there, materials department have to be involved in the aggregate planning operations. Your shop floor people should be involved, marketing and distribution people should be involved in the aggregate planning, your human resource people should be involved in the aggregate planning. Why? Because an engineer is responsible in making designs. He is responsible in telling whether we need to change the design or we need to focus on the old designs or we need to make bring about new designs. All that the engineer is going to incorporate with the aggregate planning. Then material, after the engineer has outsourced his ideas, the material department talks about the capabilities, talks about the handling capacities, talk about the storage capacities, material availability, all that these material departments will talk about. Next will be the operations manager who will come in picture of telling us what will be the current workforce required, what is the mission capacity is required, what is the factory workforce required, mission setting, mission capacity is required, all that guidelines your operations manager will give us a clear picture. The marketing and distribution department basically will give us a clear picture of what are our competitors, what does the customer needs, and how to attract customers. All these ideas, these marketing people will give us. Next, we have accounts and finance. So basically, the current situation of the company or the cost or financial position of the organization will be given by the accounts and the finance department. Now, human resource department will come into picture of trying to bring about where retraining is required, or if you need to incorporate labors, how to keep your labor happy, how to keep them motivated. All these constraints will be dealt by the human resource department. Next, we have the objectives of aggregate planning. The objectives of aggregate planning is, it's very clear. You need to have minimum cost, right? You need to have maximized customer service, right? Then you need to minimize changes. This changes, machine loading, uploading, the change in jigs, change in fixtures. You want to minimize all those kind of things. Then you need to minimize the inventory investment. The more you have the materials inventory, there are more charges spent on maintenance, safeguarding your inventory, trying to have transportation. All these charges are dealt while handling the inventory. Then minimize changes in production rate. Then maximize utilization of plant and capacity. Then minimize change in workforce levels. All these are major objectives of your aggregate plan. Any doubts here? Shall I move down with the next? Boys?
Yes, ma'am.
So next, aggregate capacity planning. Now we've already studied capacity planning. Can somebody tell me what is capacity planning? What is capacity planning? Utilization, system utilization, capacity planning. What is capacity planning?
Long-term strategy and
Huh?
establishes long source.
Actually, Tarun, your voice is breaking. I'm not able to clearly hear you. It's basically a process of establishing the what you want, how much you need to procure, how much you need to have, the capacity, how much your organization can have. So all these things is in the understanding of the capacity planning. Now, when we talk about aggregate capacity planning, process of devising a plan for providing a production capacity, a scheme to support these intermediate range sales forecasts. Basically, you're trying to devise a plan that on Monday, 50 of raw material, 10 of labor, 10 of machines will be occupied. Tuesday, you draw a timetable and give them, right? So that is the aggregate capacity planning that we need to focus here, right? So what is the need to keep everything occupied, to make sure there is no idle time, there is no uh, backlog, there is no delay in the production. For all that, we need aggregate capacity planning. So what is it? Keeping fully loaded, minimizing overloaded and underloaded, keeping production costs low, meeting expected aggregate demand, systematic plan of customer demand, getting maximum output in times of scarce resources, managing changes in customer demand. So aggregate planning, need for all this will be focusing on these points, right? So basically you need to should not have any shortage, or should not, you should keep your customers happy. To focus on all that, you need to have a good aggregate planning system. Am I clear? Boys, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So next, see, I already told you in the aggregate planning, the material after this aggregate planning is made, it has to go back. This plan, to execute this plan, it has to have an exchange of words between the material department with the operators, between the distribution and marketing, accounts and finance, and human resources and engineering department. Department is responsible in giving their new ideas here, right? Then based on these ideas, material department plan their capacities, make sure that whether they have the raw materials there, or whether they need to procure the raw material, or whether, what will be the cost of the material, the quality of the material. All that detailing will be done by the materials department. Then these people will give us what is the exact flow line of the factory in process operations, right? So how is the process going to blow, how much days they need to produce a product, will be required to produce a product. All that planning will be done by the operations department. Distribution marketing, they will give us a clear picture of what our customers need, what our competitors, how to focus on meeting the customer demands. So how to make sure that it, what is the deadline that the product has to reach the customer. All these things will be concentrated by the distribution marketing department. These people will be talking about how to fix up the price for your product, how to make sure that the we fix the product in such a way that the company is in the goal of attaining profits. All these concepts will be discussed by the accounts and finance. Human resource department, basically we'll talk about how to keep how to keep all your laborers happy, how to bring about the training period, how the profits should be shared among your employees. All these things will be discussed by the human resources department. Am I clear? Or am I
Yes,
clear? Okay. Now, this slide will give us a clear picture of, see now, this gives the complete picture of an organization plan. You have process planning, then you have strategic capacity planning. After you have, these two will be profits, what is the investment to make, sorry, all these will be decided by the high level authorities. The capacity planning will be decided by the overall team or board of members. Then you have aggregate planning. Now, aggregate planning, if this plan is made properly, then your master production scheduling or planning or order scheduling, all will work in order, will work in a continuous way such that the organization moves in towards the attaining their profits. But if our aggregate planning goes wrong, then the lower
Boys, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
yes,
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am, we can.
Till where could you hear me?
If the aggregate planning goes wrong, then
The lower capacity people and the higher capacity people all will get hit, right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now I'm putting a case study here. I want you to read this case study. Can somebody read it loud for me, please? First, can somebody read this case study loud for me? Can you see this case study? So basically, they're trying to produce the different types of umbrellas. One is compact line, one is durable line, other one is executive line. Okay, this company called Keepo Dry, a small manufacturing company, produces umbrella. This company was founded in 1991 and producing three types of umbrellas. One is executive line, one is durable line, one is compact line. Now, this survey which they show is basic. Okay, let's I'll delete this slide. You tell me now, when you're trying, if you're an organization or if you own a company of umbrellas company, you're trying to produce a product of which is for executive line, which is for durable line, which is compact line. Now, of these three umbrellas, which do you think will be mostly attracting your customers, or which will have a large number of, or which you want to focus on producing more? Will you, in during the production cycle, will you try to produce 50 of executive umbrella, 50 of durable umbrella, 50 of compact line umbrella? Will you produce everything on 50-50-50s? Boys, I want an answer.
Ma'am, in the beginning, we can do like that and see which umbrella sells the most.
Okay. Anybody else?
The compact and durable will have more demand as compared to executive.
To make it more clear, I will tell one more thing. Now, this executive line umbrellas is basically for the executives, which usually tends to be a little costlier version. Okay. Then durable line umbrellas is for it's the quality is very good, but it is somewhere concentrating. The cost will be slightly less when compared to the executive line. Okay. The compact line umbrellas is on a low cost, trying to attract more number of customers. Even the smallest of smallest people can also be affordable to buy it. So this is the low cost umbrella, this is the average medium cost umbrella, this will be the high cost umbrella. Now, with this cost guidelines, how do you think that we need to plan our production cycle? Will you
more
tell
amount of
will
the umbrellas which are expensive and
what,
I
ma'am?
produce more number of umbrellas which are in the compact line
Very good. You'll try to put a
and
large
less number
production
of
scale for,
umbrellas of executive.
yeah, you'll try to have less numbers of executive line then some average in the durable line, and more number of umbrellas in the compact line. Can somebody reason it out?
So that even if the umbrellas are not stored, there's no much
Loss here.
loss also.
Yeah, because the investment is more here. But these two, in a, if one or one of this, if two of this will be costing for this one means, then you can have produce two of this cost. So you produce this, and definitely more number of customers will be coming for the compact line only. And this umbrella is basically used during the seasonal, during the rainy times only. So it will be used only. Many of our Indian customers are in the perspective that if they utilize umbrella for those period of time, then they are happy. They don't want to keep it for a long period of time, right? So for that, they focus only on the target of having those particular period. But some people want to have something which is durable, so such people will focus it here. But executive line is very limited number of customers will go for executive line. Did you understand this? When we talk about different types of aggregate planning, that is a level or chase, there you will understand it better. But right now I want you to realize the how will you make your production cycle. If you have understood, then I can move down with the next slide. Is this case study clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now, for making a business plan, you need to take inputs for planning sequence. For making your business plan, you need to know first what are the corporate strategies. What if you have to start a business? How much you have to pay for the government to start up the business? What will be the uh, how to set up your business? What will be the protocols? What will be the fees paid? All that you need to know. The economic competitiveness, who are your competitors, all that you need to know. If you plan your business, who will be your customers, how to forecast your demand, how could forecast your all this will be planned in the business plan. Next will be your aggregate plan. This aggregate plan basically wants to make best utilize of your capacities that is available within the organization, right? After you have done the aggregate plan, if the process is correct, then you go for master scheduling. Master scheduling is the next unit in this part of the aggregate planning. We will discuss that in detail. But master scheduling, basically it needs to schedule. If you say in aggregate planning, if you have planned for one particular month, master scheduling will give a detailed plan from one day to day or week to week basis. It will give us a scheduling process, a detailed timetable how to execute our aggregate plan. Is it clear? Now, after this, you have your aggregate inputs. Aggregate inputs will be resources, demand forecast, policies, and cost. In the resources, you have workforce, you have facilities, demand forecast, what's the demand supply that you really know, then policies, when to subcontract, when to do overtime, what to do with your inventory levels, what are the back orders you have, right? All these policies you need to know. The cost that will be incurred will be the inventory carrying cost, the back orders cost, the hiring and firing cost, then overtime cost, the inventory charges, the subcontracting charges. All these things will be the inputs that are be acting upon our aggregate planning. Okay. Now, what are the outputs? Outputs will be the total cost of the plant and projected levels of inventory. Now you make some inventory, right? So all that projected levels of inventory will come under the outputs. Outputs basically customers and the money that you invest and what you're trying to process during the planning process will come under the outputs, right? So inventory output, employment, subcontracting, back ordering will again come here also as a part of output. Is it clear? If these work, or if the in the input part, if these policies works correct here only, even in the output, they will work out correctly here. Is it clear? So I want you to show a video for you. Then we will move on with the further slide. Is the video played? Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, playing it. Just a second.
to improve the demand and also match the capacity.
Who is OM here? What is OM here?
Operations manager.
Operations manager. Read this clearly. Read out all these statements which I have put. Shall I play it? Have you all
Ma'am, can
read
you
this?
explain the first
Should
question?
inventories be used to observe changes in demand during the planning period? Now, inventories, usually any organization, to have profit, they want to have zero inventories, right? So we have these MRP system, right? In what the master scheduling also speaks about. Now, if you're starting your production cycle, 1 hour before or 1 day before, the raw materials will come into the shop floor. The right material in the right quantity should reach the shop floor. That is the planning that we need to do for the inventory, so that we don't pay something called the inventory cost or safety of the inventory, maintenance cost, all that we need not give from the organization level, right? So this needs to be targeted here. So this should inventories be used to absorb changes in the demand. So when there is a demand, you bring in your raw materials. So therefore, when you bring the raw materials and try to move across during the production cycle, then you're saving your inventory cost, you're saving your safety, maintenance, all these costs you're saving. So you tell me, during the planning period, should inventories be used to absorb changes in demand the planning period? You tell me what will be the answer. In those days, we for shipping and the transporting one raw material from one place from the north to the south used to take quite a lot of time. So what the organization used to do is they used to plan the thing and keep 1 month stock in their godown, and accordingly, before it goes to the machine shop, these raw materials should again go through some kind of maintenance and then should be produced, should be brought into the shop floor. But today, the moment you plan, you want a day before. We call it as bill of materials, right? In the bomb, the moment when when the amount of capacity is decreasing, the moment it has gone to 10th count, immediately by the MRP system, MRP1, MRP2, will be studying and all that. The moment it goes to that level, immediately an order will be placed to the organization, and correctly a day before the production cycle, your raw materials will be reaching your baseline. Now you tell me, Chinmay, should inventories be used?
Yes.
Okay. Next one, should changes be accommodated by varying the size of the workforce? Every now and then we know that the demand keeps changing, the size keeps changing, the designs keeps changing. So you mean to say that you need to accommodate varying the size of the workforce? Should changes be made?
Yeah, depending on the size of the factory and how much they can afford
The
to keep.
size, the layout, only with the, you should, while planning the layout only, you should make sure that the layout can bring about any fluctuating changes or any changes that are required. It should be easily adaptable, right? So your layout that you're planning only should be ready to accept these size or changes in the layout, right? So answer will be next. Should part-time must be used, or should overtime and idle time absorb fluctuation? These days we have a lot of outsourcing, right? Have you heard about it?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Uh, these days even we have part-time jobs also. What is your opinion about it? Can we have a debate on this? Should part-time must be used, or should overtime and idle time observe this fluctuation? When do we have idle time? We are talking about
When there is
employees here.
when there's little less work compared to their actual
When there is
working.
no demand or when there is no requirement of that particular product in the market, right? Then we say there is an idle period. So that time, do you think the organization should slack these people?
No, ma'am, then there'll be a lot of uh, chaos because you cannot keep
Yes,
removing
that
people.
means what are these kind of organizations? If they have, there are so many organizations. Will you join such company? Like there are companies now when there is no projects or something, they put those people on bench and all that, right? So would you join such company or will you join a company in which there is always throughout the scale, whether when you're in project or not, you're always being utilized in one or the other project? Will you join such company?
The one that is the
Keeping
that
us
has
engaged, making sure, making us best utilized of our opportunities, right? We would join in such organizations. So basically, we need, that's the reason why we need to focus on organizations. If a study organization is one who doesn't think about overtime working or part-time working, they best want to have a established flow of their product is always in demand. The flow line of production is always a straight line. If you have such kind of company, or at least on the upper scale it should move, but it should not go below the low line, right? So such organizations are best. And if you have some kind of even these organizations, all organizations, if they've not gone through that, then there will be no growing level, right? So you start, if you have companies which work on which talk about employees working on part timers or removing idle people and all, that means they're all startups who needs to work on the organization, these startups. So you have one more advantage is that during when you are observed during the production line, that time the amount of salary or whatever money you target from this company will be a huge money. So if you are efficient enough or if you're talented enough, from these organizations you can demand high amount of money, right? So even that is also part of the business. But we always think about going through the a company which has a smooth line and in which the production line is always 365 days. Okay, so that should be the target here. Now, should subcontractors be used in the fluctuating orders? What do you have to comment here?
it depends if it is economical for the company to work on the smaller parts of the project. If it's too small for the company, they can give it to the
See,
subcontract.
the organizations always will have a, see, when a small additional job is being taken over during their actual process cycle, if there is a one more additional job which is taking of them a more investment, which is taking them more amount of time and all that, they rather would outsource that small unit of work to somebody else working on it and pay them their profit, rather than trying to invest the entire money in their setup, trying to bring about new additional forces, new employees, which will be an added investment for the organization. During that time, what do? They try to outsource their part of work, the organizations who are working on it, and whatever profits they get, they will be giving to those companies. Is it clear? Should prices and other factors be changed to influence demand? What is your comment on this?
It could be changed depending on what kind of a product it is.
You only tell me what kind of product is there, you will give a price increase, and what product is there you will not charge, you would keep a standard price.
The things that are like a necessity for everybody,
Okay.
uh, like from
SSD for everybody means what?
essentials like
Essentials.
Products which have high demand.
Products which have high demand. In that also you have some category, right? There will be something which can get spoiled, which will have a more lifetime. That and all, there are certain products. Based on that only, you should fix your price, right? Suppose if you there are some restaurants, I don't know, I've heard about it. During the peak of the day, if you go around uh, during 12 o'clock or something, if you go, the lunch will be given at maybe 100 rupees per price or something like. But the moment you go at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, they will sell the same product with a lower money, right? Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So that time you should be, because the food has what do you say? It has a shelf life, right? So if you delay it, the food will get spoiled, and whatever minimum money also you get, will you lose up. So in order, during such circumstances, you need to fix your prices. Okay, it can be for any product, even in the car companies or not. If the car, after manufacturing for that period of time, if it doesn't go for production, the next year this car will become an old stock car. When you're trying to sell an old stock car, the customers will not come for it, right? So there will be a problem in the sales for the organization. So you should be very careful in analyzing this product. Is it clear? Boys, I'll finish this. What do you have after lunch?
Lab, ma'am.
Which lab?
Uh, FM. FM
Okay,
and
let's stop here. We'll continue in the next class, okay? The same.
yes. Thank you.
Just a second, give me attendance. Quickly answer your attendance. Sai Suman,
Present, ma'am.
Abhishek GL. Answer your attendance, otherwise I'm marking you absent. Sai, Abhishek GL, Abhishek Narayana, Adarsh,
Present, ma'am.
Ajay Sunil,
Present, ma'am.
Abhishek GL, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
you know, and students be ready. Akram Anwar,
Present, ma'am.
Akshay Jadhav, Alap,
Present.
Ankit, Ashitesh,
Present, ma'am.
Vihan, Chinmay,
Present, ma'am.
Chandan Swarup, Chanishma, Darshan,
Present, ma'am.
Ibad, Govindraj, Buddha Jayant Reddy, Buddha Purushottam, Ritik Shah, Jayant Pansali,
Present, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Jitin Kumar.
Chaitanya, Karanjit
Present, ma'am.
Singh, Chaitanya,
Present, ma'am.
024,
Yes, ma'am. Present.
Kartik Awasthi,
Present, ma'am.
Andy, Mastanullah,
Already, ma'am. 23.
Hazin, Sharan, Narendra Sadanand,
Present, ma'am.
Nihal U. Shetty,
Yes, ma'am.
Nikhil, Nimla Vagmesh,
Yes, ma'am.
Nitin, Prajwal, Prayag,
Yes, ma'am.
Prince Prabhakar, Princeton,
Yes, ma'am.
Rakshit, Rishi,
Present, ma'am.
Sandeep P, Sanjay Gowda,
Yes, ma'am.
Sanjay N,
Yes, ma'am.
Satish Shankar, Saurabh,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Shivam Kumar,
Yes, ma'am.
Shivam Sundriya,
Yes, ma'am.
Shravan Saluja,
Yes, ma'am. Present.
Srinidhi, Shriddhate,
Present, ma'am.
Shriddhatar Sanu, Sudeep KS, Sunil Kumar Ji, Tarun, Vinay J,
Yes,
Vipin
ma'am.
Singh,
Yes,
Vinay
ma'am.
J. Vinay, you've attended 8 on 26 classes. Vivek S,
Present, ma'am.
Milan Chaudhary, Pranay Lal Mulpatti,
Present,
Saksham,
ma'am.
Saksham Singh, Saksham, Abhishek BS, Chaitanya,
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Ma'am, Present.
Chaitanya 400.
Yes, ma'am. I'm 68.
Yeah, I've called you. Akshat BS, I've called. Nishant is not there. Ramesh is not there. Ramesh yes is not there. Shashank yes. Smaran.
Ma'am.
Sautwik Smaran.
Yes, ma'am.
Sautwik Roy. I said Smaran.
Oh, sorry, ma'am. Sorry.
Zahir Hussain. Boys, this Friday mostly we'll be having an extra class. It will be an OB activity. So do join around 2 o'clock. I will be posting. We will be having a discussion in the coming classes. So this Friday from 1:30 to, if you start early, you can finish early. We'll start at 1:30.
Sure, ma'am.
What
Start
is it
at
about, ma'am?
maybe some class on flipping. I will give you a title. We will have a discussion. You can use PPTs or you can use posters to present
Sorry,
your
ma'am.
ideas.
A class on what, ma'am?
It's an outcome based activity. It's a part of MBA. So of your 10 marks assignment, some marks will be allocated for this. So you can either use posters or you can use PPTs to present your ideas, right? I will list out the topics. You can pick the topics of your choice. Mostly I want to cover up with the materials requirement planning only. You can take a case study, any case study, or it can be a video showing the problem, and you should explain this problem is like this. And it should be a team of 4 members.
When is it, ma'am?
This Friday.
Ma'am, the topic and all, can you put it on the group, ma'am?
Yeah, I'll put the detailed topic on your, everything we'll discuss maybe on Wednesday's class or on Thursday's class. Okay.
Ma'am, there will be only one day left, ma'am. If you discuss on Wednesday or Thursday, only one day will be left, ma'am.
So when you want me to do then? Can we have it
Like,
on next Friday? This Friday is Diwali. Okay, we'll keep it on 20th.
ma'am, 20th is an open day, ma'am.
20th is open day.
Yeah.
Okay, then can we keep it on 27th?
Okay, ma'am, that will be fine.
Okay. Or during classes, can you tell me in any subject that you have covered up the syllabus so that I can take a class and during classes I can finish it?
All the subjects are like we are behind only, ma'am. Like hardly we have completed either 3 modules or something. So there is no subject which is like
Done.
free.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
ma'am.
we'll fix it on 20. I want to finish it before 20th because 25th and 26th I'm on leave. So those 2 classes you can use for something else. I'll tell you the detailed schedule, okay? I'll take a class on Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.